Hiya, my name is Stacey Townsend, and I am the founder of Pickler. You might have found out about us or heard about us over at thepickler.com, or maybe you've read our pickleball newsletter where we help you play better pickleball for free. Well, now we're bringing you Pickler, the podcast, with my mixed doubles partner and also the most encouraging and lovable pickleball social media troll out there, Mr. John Davison. And he's also known to some as the People's Champ. Hey, John.
Hey, that is right. And if anyone else claims that they're the people's champ, they are full of it, right? I did see something about somebody called that Matt Manassi guy the people's champ. And I think we just need to kill it right there. He might be playing with celebrities, but there's only one people's champ, and that's your boy. So
That's right. And you can
just want
just
to put
call
that out there.
me and you could just call me the people's choice though, John.
You or the people's chump, you might be the people's chump. Or actually, no, we gave that to Olivia, right? Olivia McMillan, who's also a pro, for those that don't know. She's the people's chump. So I think it's very fitting for her. But only one people's champ.
Understood.
And that's your boy.
So what are we doing here, John, with the Pickler podcast?
Well, we have talked about this for so long. And before like any other pickleball podcast really started, right? Like I feel like in the last month, there's been like 10 podcasts that have started, Rob and Ben who do a good job and some other people too. But we've been talking about this for forever and I've been lazy. I know that. So we just haven't got it started, but I'm happy to finally do it with you, Stace.
I am too. I feel like we've been talking about it for at least a year, but
Mm-hmm.
what I hope this is a bunch of conversations, stories, maybe some tips, obviously focused on the sport of pickleball, because frankly, without the sport, I wouldn't have too many friends, and so I'd love to have the conversation with you as my friend and also partner on the pickleball court.
That can't be true, Stace. Everyone loves you. You'd have a lot of friends. You would have a lot of friends for sure.
They all play pickleball nowadays.
They do. I feel like, I just can't get away from the pickleball people.
Oh, for sure.
But
For sure.
I mean,
So without
go ahead.
I was going to say, without the sport of pickleball, we literally wouldn't be here today. And I think we met as competitors on the court. I think we stepped on the court against each other at a pickleball tournament. And I was like, enough of this. I got to play with you because I don't want to play against you anymore.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it worked. I think I was playing with Sarah Sari, right? And I don't know, were you playing with Brandon?
Yeah, I think I might have been playing with Jay Simonovic's arm.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Love Jay. He's great. But obviously you picked the better choice, right? So, we had to get together and actually finally be on the same team. And we did for a while. I know you stopped playing as much, but
at least tournaments. Recreational is where it's at for me these days.
Well, I mean, you're basically playing a tournament every time you play with the Waters, right? So you're like the Waters. You're the reason for the Waters' success.
No, hardly. No way.
I don't know. You were like their you were their choice to train with over COVID. So
I know, and that's why they took such a slow start, probably. But now they are back on top.
I actually remember this. So people that know Stacey Townsend, the way she plays, she is like not so much a banger. She is the steady Eddie, never misses, like super consistent. And I remember the first time we played out of COVID, we played the Dom Catalano Moneyball, right? And Stacy literally like after the first match goes, John, I can't dink. And I go, what do you mean? This is like literally what you do. And you're like, I've been playing with the Waters for the last 6 months. I don't know how to dink anymore. And so
poor John, you were expecting me to dink all day. And I said, no, we need to speed it up right now. I can't do it.
Which I thought was hilarious because it is true. Whenever you play with the Waters, there's not a lot of dinking going on. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But I just thought that was funny.
So let's take it back. Like, so you mentioned COVID and playing during COVID. Pickleball, the last, I don't know, 12 to 18 months has certainly, I think, exploded.
Yeah.
I think there's hundreds of paddle companies. I heard from pickleball tournaments, there's going to be over 1,000 tournaments possibly next year, which is insane. We have these two pro tours that popped up right before COVID. The press and the publicity from Vanity Fair to the Today Show is insane. What do you make of all that?
I definitely think that pickleball is blowing up, right? I mean, you have it's on Bravo now, on what show is it? Vanderpump Rules, right?
Yeah.
Olivia makes me watch all that, so I have to watch all the Bravo stuff. But I mean, it's good, and then you got Ben and Colin on the Today Show and all that. It's definitely good. I do think that it's growing a lot faster than people expected. And so I think we're going to have a little bit of growing pains for a little. I think that's fair to say. But I mean, it's great, right? There's money coming in the sport, a lot of money. A lot of nice venues are popping up. I mean, I think, at this rate, pickleball will be more mainstream in like a household thing, right? Everyone you talk to now knows about pickleball. When we first started, nobody, people are like, what? Pickle what? Right? So
For sure.
it's definitely exploding and it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely less explaining when you say I'm going to play pickleball. But it's interesting to me because when I first joined in the sport, which was 2017, there was a segment on the Today Show with Tyson and Lucy kind of around that time, might have been 2018, 19. Uh, Pickleball was getting some exposure. It was on the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, which is another Bravo show that you may be familiar with, John. But it's interesting, now you just fast forward a few years and it's kind of the same, but it's a totally different level. It's like the engagement on these same segments per se is through the roof.
yeah, no, it's exploding. And you got all these celebrities playing. I mean, I think it'll be tough with, and I didn't know if this was a hot topic later or not. You know, Stacie, for people who know, Stacie's a lawyer, and she gave me a 5-page essay about this first podcast. So I might be skipping ahead, Stace. I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, there's so many tournaments that I think it's kind of a little crazy, especially for the pros. It's great for the recreational players because there's so many tournaments to choose from. I remember the first year I played, I didn't even know there was a tournament. Like I didn't know pickleball tournaments were a thing. My first
Mhm.
year I played. Like I just played with the old people, you know, in Jack's Beach, right? So I think it's great that there's a lot more options, right, for everywhere around the country, but now it's definitely getting a little crazy with the pro tour for sure. I mean, there's what more than 52 pro tournaments on, next year, including all the tours. So, it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what happens with the pro tours if there is sort of a diversion of missions between the two of them. But to the point about there being so many pickleball tournaments, it's great for the recreational player. I think pickleball, in a sense, is almost getting more like hyper local. People like to, like, it may be really great to travel to a really big tournament, but I think they want to play in a league or play in, my community or my club versus your community or your club. Like, I feel like that local or regionalized play is just going to continue to grow and be more of a thing.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right, and I know that's something that we're thinking about trying to put on in Jacksonville too, because there's just nothing like that, leagues and stuff. Um, but I mean, it's just good for the sport. The sport's exploding. It's awesome. I mean, I even got our production guy, podcast Nick, we'll call him. I even got him started in playing pickleball, and he's loving it too. So, you know, more the merrier, I say.
So, where do you think the limit, if there is one, is for pickleball?
I mean, the limit, I guess, would be like an Olympics, right? But I guess you would have to be more You have to be in more countries, right? I think they're like at 40 something countries, the IFP, whatever it's called. I don't
I
know what it's
think
called.
I think they're at like 67 now. I believe it's at 67. There's less than 10 needed to get to the Olympic charter of 75.
Oh, is that what it is? 75? Okay, I was just about
Mhm.
to ask that. But I think they like don't they start it as like if the US has the Olympics, they can have like uh it's not like an official games, right? It's what
A
do you call it?
demonstration. I think it's a
Yeah,
demonstration
demonstration.
sport.
Right. Yeah,
I
so I think it'll definitely get that first, right? And then
Yeah.
if there's still growing interest around the world, um well, it reminds me. Did you see that video like a year ago of in China all the kids that were like shadow swinging?
No?
Oh, there it was like a year ago. There was like how like in China there's like 100 kids in a class, right? And they're just all shadow swinging pickleball paddles. And I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
they're like 10 years old and younger, and they're just all doing this like nice flowing shadow swing. And I'm like, dang, in like 10 years we are screwed. Like these kids are drilling and they're like 9. you know
Yeah.
um
Well,
it's
the
gonna
sport's
it's gonna explode. It's just gotta take time.
Yeah. Well, the sport's just so accessible because it doesn't cost very much, and the amount of space you need to play it is relatively small. So, uh, it's just gonna pop up everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, with the clubs too, all the clubs are going from tennis to pickleball just because if you think about it mathematically for them, you could only have what, 4 people on a tennis court, but you could have 16 playing at a time if you turn it all into pickleball nets.
Right.
So it makes a lot of sense for a lot of these tennis clubs too, moving it over.
Well, so I totally agree, and I think it's good business practice for them as well because you get more people, like you just said. The one thing I am frankly concerned about, and this is because I follow the pickleball like news headlines. Uh, One is obviously, I think we need more courts, but the issue I'm seeing in these news headlines is a lot of people are complaining about noise, and I don't know if it's like a just change is difficult, or maybe it's tennis people are upset because a lot of, like you just said, a lot of pickleball courts are going on underutilized tennis courts. So I don't know what the friction is, but I'm seeing more and more headlines of controversies or people complaining about noise. So I think that whoever can solve that problem is going to help further the growth of the sport of pickleball.
Yeah. Well, I guess what do you do then? Do you make the ball different?
I don't. So I've
Uh,
seen
which is
technology.
already a hot topic, right? You can't
Oh
you
yeah.
yeah. Anybody only wants to play with a Dura or maybe the Franklin, right? So you I don't know what you do there, really.
Yeah, so I mean, the ball, the paddle, there's like the Acoustica netting or sound barriers, right? Probably picking good places to put pickleball courts, but heck, I want one in my backyard. So imagine the neighbor complaints if I could manage to pull that off. But yeah, I don't know what the solution is.
You are putting one in your backyard, right? In your
I
new
wish
place?
I wish I didn't have enough room, but I did try.
Oh, okay. So say I guess you could put like a wall, like a sound dampening wall, I guess. I have no
Yeah.
idea. I mean, I would love to have one in my backyard too, but I could definitely see neighbors a little annoyed, you know.
Well, it's probably because pickleball players don't know when to quit, right? They just play and
Yeah.
play and play.
Oh, I know me. Like I have you know Troy Kilner. He's got a RV park up in South Georgia that we go up to all the time, and we used to be out there till like 1 in the morning playing, like 10 feet away from campers. Like with a generator light going. I was like, I could definitely be like, Troy, do you ever get people complain about the noise? Like, because we're just making all this noise at like midnight, right? So, I could definitely see that being a problem
Maybe
for
he
a
has
lot
the
of areas.
solution. Maybe he has the solution already, so we'll have to connect with Troy on that.
I don't know if he has a solution or not, but I was there the other night and we stopped at like 8, so I was like, okay, this isn't the same. Maybe somebody did complain. So, but um, and I know you wanted to get into other topics, right? But I am excited to like do this podcast with you finally. And I think, with this one, our first one, um, what would you call it? 00 Start Pickleball episode 1.
Well, I think
I,
it's officially 002, but that's another dilemma. Ball, how do you start the game?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Whatever. We'll call it 00 Start. How about that? We write our own rules. But I'm definitely excited because I think we have ideas that we're not sharing just yet, I don't think, of like what we want to do. And I think that'll definitely give a lot of interest to a lot of people. Hopefully. Hopefully people like us. We might get like 5 views, who knows? But you know what?
Sir,
Those 5 people are gonna love it, right?
that's right. We have something to say. And I think we bring an interesting perspective too, right? Like we are actual mixed doubles players. We have the
Mhm.
male and female perspective. We've been in the sport for a while. I started off as the 3-0 level and kind of built my way up to the pro level. I think you probably started at a higher level because you were just so much more athletic. But yeah, and then I was on the board for USA Pickleball, so I tried to get in understanding how the sport evolved and what I can help do grow the sport. Uh, I know you're teaching lessons, and it just there's a lot we can offer. I feel, and I'm very excited to be on this ride with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like a lot of people want to know both sides, like the rec and the pro life, I feel like. So we have our foot in both,
Hmm.
you know. We're definitely friends with a lot of the people that are on the tour, right? And then you own the Pickler, which people be trying to copy you. There's been a couple Picklers out there that are trying to rob on your idea. So we
Well,
might
there's
have to.
only there's only one thepickler.com, just like there's only one the People's Champ.
Yeah, and the John Davison, the one and only.
That's right.
But no, I'm excited, Stace, because we're gonna have a lot of fun with this, especially when we start getting to what we want to do. I think it'll be fun, especially when we start going live, and Stacy can't worry about, you know, this is just a recording.
Yeah, so for all of you listening, I'm super type A. As John said, I'm an attorney actually full time, and I like to have everything just right. So I had notes that uh, were probably 3 or 4 pages too long for John, and they were 3 or 4 pages in total. So here we are.
Like I've done podcasts, right? And then podcast Nick, right, our production guy. Um, we've done it before in other areas, and we're like the most unorganized, unplanners. I guess he does a little planning, but we basically just roll into it, and we're definitely a little different, Stace, which is why I love you. Is
Well, that's why we're a good team.
and I might veer off your 5-page essay I'm looking at over here. I might skip around on a couple paragraphs, so I apologize ahead of time.
Fine by me.
Um, but Stacy, I think this would be a good time to thank our sponsor
Oh,
because
I
we
think it's
have
a
we
great
have
time.
one of those. We have a great sponsor.
We
So
do.
I'll
Yeah,
let
so
you roll
thank
with it.
you. Thank you, John. Yeah, this podcast would not be possible without our sponsor, Superior Lab Supplements. They are designed to help you power up and recover faster so you can get back out on the pickleball court even quicker. So visit superiorlabs.com for more information. And thank you for sponsoring our podcast today.
Yeah, and I think their logo is like that direction. I might be wrong. It might be over here. I don't know. I can't. I have no idea where Nick put me. So I'm either that way. It's either that way or this way. It's down there. Hopefully, I'll just point in the wrong direction. Um, but yeah. So thanks to Superior Labs, we appreciate you, and hopefully, we'll keep doing a lot more of these. But well, Stace, what is next on the topics here?
Well, I think we should continue with the conversation of the growth of the sport and maybe
Yeah.
twist it of what we can do to improve the sport or continue to grow it. How can we get more young people or I think men slightly outpace women in the sport. How can we get more women in the sport? Do you have any thoughts on those?
I definitely think, okay, at a recreational level, we need more courts, right? Because it's just the pace of the growth is too fast for the infrastructure. I know like cities are starting to like get on board and start getting stuff, built. Like we're getting, 8 more courts like a mile, less than a mile from our house, which is great. But I think for the tournament side and especially the pro side, we need a lot more women. Um, and I don't know if I was a tournament director, I'm gonna put my tournament director hat on, like your APP or your PPA. I'd be going to these college programs, right? And going like, if these players don't want to go pro tennis, like let's get them involved in pickleball right as soon as they graduate, right? So that way, reaching out to these college coaches and being like, "Hey, do you guys have any girls that are want to still be active and play, but they're not playing tennis anymore?" Right? And start getting paddles in these players' hands and just young talent, right? Because now you're seeing most women's pro draws are like 10 teams tops. And so it's tough because a first round, you're going to get an Annalie and Lee Waters. You're going to get a Simone and a Lucy, right? It's so hard to build your, skill set up when you're getting these top teams first or second round, right? And it's almost like there's not as many teams. So you pretty much know who's going to be in the finals, right? And
Mhm.
just based on the draw, right? And especially with the PPA, it's like there's no back draw to come through, right? So, you look at the draw and you can almost say, okay, it's likely going to be these two teams, you know. Um, but
No,
I
I
definitely
like
think we need
that.
more women.
I think that's true. I guess one question that comes to my mind is, do we have do we need more women to play pickleball, or do we need more women to play in tournaments? Or I guess let me rephrase that, because of course we want more women to play pickleball, but are women not playing pickleball, or are they not playing pickleball tournaments? And maybe what the disconnect is, if there's, the women don't like to play the competitive tournament style. I don't know. Myself personally, I've just found it so expensive lately to play in like travel. Yeah, it's expensive to go travel. And like you said, your first round is Lee and Anna Lee or Simone and Lucy. That's very difficult to overcome. But I really like your idea about reaching out to college tennis athletes. I didn't even think about that, but it's a great idea because some of our best talent in the sport are former college tennis athletes. So it's a
Yeah.
great idea.
And even just, it doesn't even have to be the tennis player. It's the tennis players. It's going to the athletic directors of these college programs, right? Like if I need more women in the sport if I'm a tournament director, right? At the pro level. I think the recreational level, I feel like there's a lot of women that play. I feel like the 3-5 3-0 to 3-5 women's draws are and like the mixed draws are massive, right? They're like 20, 30 teams every time. But I do think you're right though. I feel like a lot, it could be that maybe the women just want to play recreationally, right? But I if I'm trying to grow it at the pro level, I'm going to the athletic directors, being like, I don't, they don't have to come from tennis. It could be like you came from softball, an All American, right? Are you an All American? You're an All American Hall of Famer or something?
Something like that, but you
Yeah.
just took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say they don't have to be tennis players, and I think both of us are good examples of that. I was
Mhm.
softball, you were soccer,
Right.
uh, but that's what's so cool about pickleball, right? You don't have to you just kinda pick up a paddle and start playing and have success, and I don't have the most beautiful strokes out there, but we still find a way to get it done even if it looks a little different, it's still effective.
Well, and also like sometimes that is what can actually help you, right? I mean, you look at I don't know if AJ Kohler played tennis or not, but he definitely has a hockey background, right? And his form is just and the way he strikes the ball is so much different, right? So it creates problems. And then you got your unicorns of the world, and then um, the Austin Gridleys, right? That just have this interesting style, and that just Rob Cassidy. I don't know if he played tennis or not, but he's got that ping pong grip, right? And they create when you have that something that's not tennis, you can create a lot of um, chaos, right? Because it's like these tennis players can't read what you're doing, and so I like seeing people from different backgrounds in pickleball, right? Because you don't have to be a tennis player. It
Hmm.
helps. It helps a lot, right? But there's good players that don't have never played tennis, So
Hmm.
yeah, I go to the athletic directors. I mean, if Ken and Connor are watching this, hopefully, um, why would you not go to all these athletic departments and be like, hey, your kids are graduating. What else are they going to do? If they're not going to go pro in their sport, they might as well pick up a pickleball paddle and then continue their competitive nature, right? Just in pickleball. And I think, especially if you target the women's programs, you're going to get a lot more young women that want to play at a competitive level.
No, I think that's a great idea. I wonder if we could even get them earlier, right? Like I used to hear stories about more and more pickleball being taught in schools. I think you
Hmm.
hear some people say, when they were in high school or middle school in the 80s or so, that they would teach them pickleball. But and then I was never taught pickleball in school, but now it's like coming back. I feel like maybe we could even teach pickleball earlier, and then they have this exposure to it with the tours. There's in the media. Maybe it's at the forefront of their mind before Connor, Ken, and the other pros reach out to those programs too.
Well, definitely. I mean, I definitely feel there's a lot more people trying to get it in high schools and middle schools. I mean, maybe before Olympics, it becomes a high school sport in some areas, right?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe that's the goal, to first get to the schools, like you talked about, right? And just building that youth, right? You have your academies, like, your Simone's Academy, and I think maybe there's a couple others out there too that are building up the youth. But I know that Simone probably does at least the best marketing, right? She probably does the best job with the younger players coming up. But I definitely think that should have a lot of focus in it. You're right.
I think I actually think the way it's gonna happen is the colleges are gonna have intramurals, and then I think it will filter down that way. If I had to guess, because you're seeing colleges create their own Instagrams. Like I read an
Hmm.
article about Virginia Pickleball Club, University
Oh
of
wow.
Virginia, and they have, if I remember correctly, a couple hundred people a part of this club already. Utah, of course, is a hotbed for pickleball. The Utah universities have these. North Carolina State, I saw, has a Instagram. So you're starting to see these pop up, and the social nature. It's easy to learn. You can just pick it up and play. Like I think the intramurals are the thing to watch.
Yeah, definitely. And the club level too, right?
Mhm.
So like the intramurals and then clubs where you can compete against the
Yes.
other schools. I know that when I stopped playing collegiate soccer, we started a club team. Actually, there wasn't one at UNF, and we started a club team and started playing, other schools. And I think that that could be huge, right? If you get, can you imagine like at Florida, Georgia, which is in Jacksonville, right? The largest cocktail party in the world. Imagine having like a Florida versus Georgia like pickleball uh, tournament at the tailgate, right? And then it would just provide a lot of excitement, I think.
Well, and I think the Major League Pickleball, which just went on earlier this month, kind of showed you a format where you can make it a team element. I know there's other people that have tried the team element, but I just thought Major League Pickleball uh, really put it on display what pickleball could be in this team format. So you're right. And getting behind a university so easy, right? The Florida versus Georgia, there'll certainly be interest for that. And I guess circling it back to, more women in the game, I think more people at the top, the visibility of the sport will help just attract more people or more women to play in pickleball tournaments and hopefully as well as recreational play.
Yeah. And then, oh gosh, I just, you know, blanked on what one thing you said in the beginning. Um, oh shoot, whatever. I told you I'd mess up in this too, Stacy. You were all nervous about doing a podcast for the first time. I was like, oh, I make mistakes all the time. Um,
Well, it is our first one. We will get
oh,
better
I
and
know.
better.
Oh, it was about the Major League Pickleball.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was probably the coolest thing that's ever happened in pickleball. Honestly, like just the way that the draft. You had Lee Whitwell, right, drafted 15th, and they were on a team that was not expected to do very well, even though they had Kyle Yates and Anna Lee. And it was AJ Kohler, I think, right? Like they just blew everybody out of the water until the finals, really. But I just thought the whole format was so cool because it's almost gotten so repetitive every weekend, right? With okay, we know who's in the finals. You know, Ben and Colin are in the finals versus like Riley and Tyson,
Yeah.
right? Or like Ben and Matt. And then you have like Simone and Lucy, or like a Jesse Catherine, and then the Waters. So it's like nice to see different matchups that would have never happened. Which, and honestly, I thought the games were super close because of it. Like I thought the pickleball was amazing. And especially loved the singles tiebreak at the end with the women beating up on all the men. I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool. Callie Smith was like, "Oh, I get more fired up if I play the guy," and then she would like beat up the guy, like she'd go like 6 for 8 or whatever on the points, right? And then Lee Whitwell was passing Deckel and all these people. I just thought it was cool. I think pickleball needs way more of that.
Well, I think it showcased what pickleball is all about, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
social part. I mean, I knew Lee Whitwell, but you got to see her on a whole different level and her passion for the game and her excitement. And I just thought she was such a good partner with Anna Lee. Just knowing Anna Lee personally, I just thought that
Mm-hmm.
was so fun to watch. And you got to know these players and the fact that they were so much more engaged.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see even more of their passion and skills because they just like breathed new life into them instead of the same tournaments every weekend. And I thought it was really really well done, and it shows you how important chemistry I think is on the pickleball court too.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot take for sure. Was that you could tell that some people were not the best team players, and some people were very good team players. Like it was unfortunate to see some bad sportsmanship, I think, on the teams, but it was positive to see a lot of the top pros being like a cheerleader for their other the rest of their team when they were playing. So I thought that was like really cool. You know, um, you see like Kyle Yates just going nuts on the sideline. Like, that's like the pickleball goat. And he is just pumped for his team doing well, right? And that's just something you don't see in pickleball now, with the current format, tournament
Yeah.
formats.
Well, and
So,
if you follow like the Pickler blogs, right, I always talk about like the mental side and always be positive, and I think
mm,
that is a good reflection of the power of positivity, right? Like your team feeds off of that, and coming from a team sport, I think it's easy for me to understand, but pickleball, it's like it's even more, I think, than a bigger team because it's just you and one other person, like your relationship and how you feed off each other. It's like exacerbated even more. You need to feed that positive energy to your partner.
well, especially when a lot of these players haven't played together, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, you could see that. I mean, the what team was it? You had Jesse and JW and Dylan and I don't know who
Suzanne
Susanna,
Susanna Barr,
all great players, right?
very good.
But they didn't win. I think they maybe only won one match, right? So it was crazy how much it shows you how much chemistry really matters, I think, especially in games of 15 where you have no time, you know. Um it was pretty cool to see, and it definitely stresses, I think. And maybe it'll, pro and recreationally show you how much that chemistry really matters.
Yes. So pick your partners wisely, right, John?
Yeah, and unfortunately, you have backed out on me so much lately. It's probably my fault that you don't want to play tournaments anymore, but we don't have to get into
That's
that, Stacie.
that's not true at all. When you're a lawyer and you're up for partner, you need to pick and choose your battles a little bit.
You should choose me every time,
Yep.
right?
Okay. Noted.
So yeah, you tell those partners that you have your number one partner right here.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
gonna send an email right after this podcast.
because I can't play with Olivia. We would kill each other. So
True.
yeah. So what's next, Stace? What else do we want to touch on in our very first 0-0 start Pickler podcast?
Hmm. I think maybe the last thing to touch on for the podcast, let's give everybody a takeaway that they can have for the court. And what do you think the most underutilized shot people could be working on is?
For me, I
Hmm.
think it's actually not the third shot, but the fourth shot.
Okay,
I
why?
Because I think that what you do with the fourth shot really also determines how the point goes, right? So, everyone focuses so much on the third, right? Being that, you have this great third to get in the kitchen, right? But what do you do with the fourth shot to keep that team back, right? What do you do with it to be aggressive off the fourth? Or maybe you can't be aggressive, right? You see so many times somebody tries to go too much on the fourth and it just gives them a easy point, right? Or they hit like a really good third, you
Mhm.
know, nice dropping in, good top spin, deep penetrating third shot, and then you're like on your back foot, just kind of kind of putting it right in the net, or you just completely make a mistake on the fourth when you should be in the stronger court position, right?
Yeah.
I think the fourth shot is very um under discussed, I guess, right? Because that's the shot that keeps the other team back, right? And just keep having over and over and over again. And how do you use that as a weapon, right? I don't think it's talked about very much, but I think that's probably something that I like to work on a lot, is to just keep the pressure on the fourth shot.
Oh, I think that's something I certainly need to work on. It's easy to relieve the pressure rather than continue to go for it every time and keep the pressure, which I think is so important, and how you're successful is by putting pressure on your opponents. So continuing to try and keep them back, but at the same time, not giving them maybe a easy put away for the beloved shake and bake, right? It's a
Yep.
delicate balance.
Yeah, you see that all the time. Like, okay, you play with the Waters every week, right? I remember when um did I play with you in the Boca thing against
Yes.
Water? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I remember like Josh Elliott like let it up his paddle, and him and Anna Lee would just rip every third and then shake and bake us, right? It was like, gosh, we couldn't do anything, you know? And I think having a good fourth to be like, okay, if somebody is trying to shake and bake you, they're trying to drive that third and the other person crashes in with all this pressure. If you are confident with what to do with that fourth ball, right? Whether it's hard, soft, an easy put away, whatever. If you work on that, then you relieve a lot of the pressure and you really gain, the court position back, right? Like you gain the pressure, which is what you should have as the receiving team.
Hmm.
So,
And I guess just a quick plug on those that may not know what the shake and bake is. It's when you have an aggressive third shot for hopefully a easy pop up, that the fifth shot is now a crash or a put away for your partner. So if I'm driving the third shot, hopefully John would be running to the net as soon as I hit it and have an easy put away at the net.
yeah.
Uh,
I
it's
mean, I come
one of the
from
best feelings in pickleball.
it is a good feeling, but I mean, I come from it, from Ricky Bobby, right? A little bit of shake and a little bit of bake, you know? But I guess pickleball, picked up on it. on the shake and bake.
Yeah, I guess that's a good, I do love the nickname, but I always think of the racing world as well with Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, you have Ricky Bobby and Cal Naughton Jr. out there shaking and baking. And then you got people like the Waters and they just shake and bake all day long. And it's very frustrating.
That might be an iconic pickleball duo if you could get, Will Ferrell,
And John C. Riley, is that who it is?
yeah, on the pickleball court together.
I think Will Ferrell does play pickleball.
I have heard that.
I don't know if John C. Riley does, but I feel like that would be pure entertainment. I would. That's one thing. There was supposed to be like a celebrity pro am, I guess, this past weekend. I think there was, but I think there was supposed to be like more A-listers, but maybe I was having too high of expectations. I don't know. I was hoping there'd be a Will Ferrell or someone out there, considering it
Well
is LA.
well, you never know, this is just their first year, maybe it will be a annual thing, and it will continue to build just like pickleball.
Hopefully, that is the goal. But
Well, I think this is probably a good time to end. I have to say I had so much fun with you on this, John, and I know it took
mhm,
a long time to get here, but I can't wait to do more podcasts with you. And maybe next time we'll do some pickleball over a match, or maybe bring a drink to our chat since it is the holiday season and we can eat, drink, and be merry.
there you go. Well, I will say we have a drink here. I have a drink. But you can't be giving away all of our secrets now, Stace, because we're coming after you other podcasters. You know, you Rob Nunneries of the world, we're coming after you. So I had to give him a shout out. I've gotten a couple shout outs on theirs. And I did mention we were having one and they said that they would watch us. So they better.
Wow. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that's a good shout out. They are doing a great job, and I've been following them as well. They're a great team
Yeah.
together. Hopefully, just
Yeah.
like us.
Yeah, we're coming for them. We're coming for those boys. But
I
we don't have an outro yet or an intro. So
Well, we'll
we
work
can
on
end it
that for the
however
next one.
yeah, we can end it however we want to. But maybe we just cheers the camera. How about that? Should we
All
cheers
right.
the
Until
camera?
next time.
All right. Pickler out.